It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome to Fish Camp. As you know, sometimes we do destination shows here on America Outdoors Radio, and this is one of them. We are taking you to the Columbia Gorge National Scenic Area, bordering Oregon and Washington, where you're going to find great fishing for salmon, sturgeon, walleye, bass, and more, not only from the mighty Columbia River, but also on several tributary rivers in the area, like the famed Deschutes, the Klickitat, the White Salmon, and the John Day River. Every year, guide and promoter Ed Eyman puts together Fish Camp, a gathering of outdoors media members, fishing guides, tournament anglers, and manufacturers in the fishing and outdoors industry who show up at the Peach Beach RV Park to camp, break bread, drink a few adult beverages, network, and of course, go fishing every day. We'll be talking to Ed more about Fish Camp during this show, and we'll also talk about how he helped discover and pioneer walleye fishing on the Columbia River back in the 1970s, and how this fishery became known as one of the best trophy walleye waters in the entire nation. All of this fishing takes place near the Dalles in Oregon, and Lisa Farquharson, the executive director of the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce, will break down some of the great fishing opportunities around here and explain why the Dalles is the perfect base camp for your next fishing adventure. After that, we'll talk to Josh Warren with WorkSharp. Josh has been coming to Fish Camp for several years, and we'll not only find out how Josh did fishing today, but also share some essential tools you'll want to have in your boat as an angler to keep knives and hooks sharp, and in your hunting camp this fall to keep not only knives, but tools sharp too. Think axe here for firewood. Speaking of camps, it really is the fall camping season, and I'm not talking about the regular camping season you see in our state and national parks around the nation. Nope, we're talking about hunting camps that sprout up all over the woods and forests this time of year, and wouldn't it be great to walk into camp this year with a new rifle from Henry Repeating Arms? Your campmates are going to be impressed by the good looks of your classic lever-action rifle, which comes in the calibers you need to take down big game, and being American-made, rugged, reliable, and accurate, you'll probably convince some of your friends to buy one before next year's deer, elk, or bear camp too. Find out more about the entire line of rifles available from Henry Repeating Arms at their website, henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com. Look for a dealer near you. If you have any questions, contact the award-winning customer service staff, and don't forget to ask for your free decals and catalog too. All right, let's get back to Fish Camp, and let's talk to a well-known Pacific Northwest guide about the salmon he chases up and down the Columbia through the different seasons of the year. Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we are taking you, as promised, to Fish Camp on the Columbia River Gorge. We're talking to one of the Columbia River's most recognizable guides. It's Austin Mosier, the owner of Austin's Northwest Adventures. Austin, it's great to have you on the air again.
Oh, thanks, John. I love to be here, man.
Well, I love having you at Fish Camp. It's always a pleasure to see you heading out on the water in your beautifully wrapped boat. And I just kind of want to walk through the fishing that the Columbia River has to offer from summer through winter, because there's so much that it does offer. And I know you just got off the famed Buoy 10 fishery at the mouth of the Columbia, targeting Chinook, targeting coho. How was it this year?
Oh, man, we had such a great year down there. We caught, a lot of Chinook in the beginning of the season. So, whenever you have a good Chinook retention and you do really well, your season gets shortened. So
right, because of quotas, folks.
Yes, exactly. So we had a great season in the beginning, so it shortened our season, which is a catch-22. But, the shining light of that was that we had an exceptional amount of coho in the river that are coming back. And our clip rates were, 70%. But, some days I would get 90% keeper clipped coho, and other days I wouldn't. So, average was 50-70% of fish that I caught were keepers, but we had some great opportunity and some 25 to 30 fish days regularly.
Well, that sounds fantastic. And for some of our listeners in the Midwest and back east, here in the western U.S., hatchery fish are clipped, and those are the fish you get to keep. We want the wild ones to come back and to keep growing stronger as runs, so that's why you see this fishery management out here that you do on the Columbia River and several other western rivers in both the U.S. and in British Columbia, too. All right, well, now we're in the Columbia River Gorge. So Chinook are moving up into here. You're fishing off the mouth of the Deschutes. Other anglers are fishing off the mouth of the Klickitat and the white salmon. And how long is it going to stay good for these fall Chinook, and are you fishing for them the same way?
Yeah, so it's going to stay good as long as it stays open. We're starting to see more and more fish rolling into the system. There's a big number of fish that are getting up into the reach already. So these fish are kind of, I think they were a little tiny bit late maybe, and they're kind of blowing through. So we got a lot of fish coming through. People are catching a lot of fish, and we're targeting these fish a lot like we did for our summer Chinook on the upper Columbia, which is spinners, pro trolls, lead ball type of fishery, and super baits. And also the new spin fish has been shining really well for a lot of different folks.
Who makes that spin fish lure?
Yeah, that's a Yakima bait product, and it's fairly new on the market, and it's been working really well. If you can get anything behind a Pro Troll flasher in these river systems and get it to whip around like that, it really looks like a prey type of deal, and they are instinctually going to bite that. And, people that can figure it out, the leader links and the different things like that, you're going to do really well. And there's a lot of fish around, so it's good.
All right, so let's move from the greater Dalles area and the Columbia River Gorge and head up to the next place I know you're going to be fishing, and that's Hanford Reach, Vernita. This is a fishery that's known for really big kings. Why are they so much bigger here than they are at Buoy 10 or up at Brewster, for the earlier summer runs, or even down here in the gorge right now?
Yeah, so those fish are a bigger breed of fish in the fall, and they are congregated up there. So when we're fishing down at like Buoy 10, or we're at Drano, or we're down here at the Klickitat or the Deschutes, we're getting a lot of different fish that are going to a lot of the different waterways and are spawning in all the different areas. Well, the upriver brights, we call them, on the Hanford Reach, are the largest species of the fish, and so when we get up there, that's where they're going. They're not going anywhere else. That's where they're going. That's where they're going to spawn, and we're there in the area where they're going to be. So they're congregated, and we're able to get in on those bigger fish.
Again, folks, you're listening to America Outdoors Radio. Yes, I know you heard a dog barking in the background. You might hear a little bit of breeze through the trees and through the tents here at Fish Camp. Okay, so we basically got until early October for Vernita, and then we're pretty much done with salmon. Again, if you do go further up the Columbia, there's a great summer Chinook fishery and sockeye fishery you get to enjoy between Wenatchee and Brewster, but come fall, you're going to be turning your attention to two impoundments of the Columbia River, way up in the Columbia River. One of them, Rufus Woods Reservoir. The other one, Lake Roosevelt. What are you targeting up there?
Yeah, so when we're fishing Lake Roosevelt, we have the great kokanee up there, and we call them trophy kokanee basically because their size is so large. There's not a lot of places in this country where you can actually go and catch over 20-inch up to 25-inch kokanee. The state record came out of there, and we love to get up there because there's always that chance of a really, really big one, but the average size is very large, and we catch a lot of trout as bycatch while we're doing that.
Well, not only a lot of trout, a lot of quality trout. 16-inch trout are like commonplace there, aren't they?
They sure are, and they cut almost as red as the kokanee do because they feed on similar stuff and some of the same stuff that the kokanee do. So it's a cold water fishery in the winter when I do it, so all the fish are just nice and crispy like an apple. When you go to fillet them, they're really nice fish.
All right, we don't even have time for Rufus Woods Reservoir. That's the one located just below Lake Roosevelt. Lake Roosevelt's kind of the end for the Columbia River for us U.S. anglers. It basically goes from Grand Coulee Dam up to the border. If you're fishing Rufus Woods, you're probably going to be targeting triploid trout, but we'll save that story for another time. In the meantime, if folks want to book a trip with you for salmon or kokanee or trout or anything else on the Columbia River or its impoundments, what's the website to go to?
Yeah, my website is www.austonsnorthwestadventures.com.
That's austonsnorthwestadventures.com, austonsnorthwestadventures.com. He's one of the most popular guides on the river, and there's a reason for that. Thanks as always, Austin.
Thank you so much, John.
Ready to step up to a quality-built rifle or shotgun that's a true classic? Check out Henry Repeating Arms, American-made. There's over 200 models to choose from in a variety of finishes and calibers for hunters and target shooters. Many of these are lever-action models with a look right out of the Old West. Don't be deceived, though. Henry Repeating Arms are modern, rugged, accurate, reliable, and have a lifetime guarantee. Find out more and order a free catalog today at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com.
Hunting and fishing are exercises in hope. Before you head into the woods, you hope to tag out on a deer you'll have to field dress. Before you make that first cast, you hope for a big fish to clean and fillet. When your hopes are realized, you'll need a sharp knife. Whether you sharpen that blade on a power sharpener in the shop or a manual sharpener in the field, WorkSharp has the tool for you. Look for WorkSharp products in sporting goods stores near you or online at WorkSharpTools.com.
Why book at Sportsman's Cove Lodge?
Why is Alaska like no other place on Earth? It hasn't changed in thousands of years.
From the way you get here on a float plane to the way you go out with the guides and the boats, it's just a professional experience.
And I said, this is as good as it gets. I said, if you can't catch fish here, you can't catch fish anywhere.
Your experience with us will leave you speechless.
Book now at alaskasbestlodge.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is the voice for your public lands, waters, and wildlife. From the Canadian Yukon to the Florida Everglades, we're stepping up to conserve North America's public lands, defend our hunting and fishing traditions, and expand public access to the outdoors. Our outdoor heritage depends on sportsmen and women like you speaking up for the natural resources that sustain our way of life. Find out how you can get involved at backcountryhunters.org and become a BHA member today.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun rise above us. Got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We are broadcasting from the beautiful Columbia River Gorge at the Peach Beach RV Park, right on the border of Oregon and Washington. And we're at what's truly one of my favorite places. It's called Fish Camp. It's an event that's happened every year for just about 20 years now, and the man who puts it together every year is well-known guide and promoter Ed Eyman. Ed, great to be back at Fish Camp.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, John. I think you've been to just about all of them. This year, why we're hop-along John here. We got one wheel that's flat, but other than that, why things is going pretty good. We've got a nice setup, nice weather. The guys are out salmon fishing today. There's a few guys walleye fishing, and some guys even did a little sturgeon fishing earlier today.
And that's the beauty of Fish Camp, folks. Ed basically brings together three groups. He brings together outdoors media, including broken down people with broken legs like myself. He also brings together people in the fishing industry, manufacturers of rods, of reels, of fishing line, of lures, and more. And then he brings in some tournament anglers and guides, and we all get together. We camp here at the Peach Beach RV Park for about 4 or 5 days. Meals are taken care of, and we go fishing every day. And again, you can go fishing for all sorts of things. In addition to the salmon and the sturgeon and the walleye, there's also bass fishing available. And, well, this year not so much because the run's down, but steelhead is usually an option too. Ed, let's talk a little bit about your history. You were literally, I think, the first walleye guide on the Columbia River. You discovered this walleye fishery back in the 70s. Everybody else is fishing for salmon and steelhead. You stumbled into walleye. Tell our listeners a little bit more about how you discovered what truly became a world-class fishery.
Well, I don't know whether I was the first or not, but I was in the beginning handful, that's for sure. And I outlived most of them until this point, and I was guiding longer than anyone else on the Columbia River for walleye there for a long time. And now that I'm retired, why, there'll be a couple of guys that'll come up behind me and take that little designation away. But we would come and go steelhead fishing between deer and elk season here off of Rufus, and we would catch these dogfish, we call them, because they had teeth. And then my neighbor, I was telling him about them, and he says, well, bring one home. He was from Minnesota. And that's kind of got me started into fishing them, and then it just kind of developed from there, and then I got tied up with Gary Roach and Randy Ammonrood, who were with Lindy Little Joe Tackle at that time, and the Lindners and Cal Cofen and just a whole bunch of guys, and it's been a really good memory and good time doing this, and basically that's the way it all worked down.
walleye are found in the Columbia River system all the way from Lake Roosevelt at the Canadian border and all the way below Portland, Oregon. And this, again, was really an undiscovered, completely unpressured fishery. And once people started getting into it, they started realizing how big these fish could get. As a matter of fact, you actually caught and released what may well have been a world record walleye right here on the Columbia River.
Oh, everybody tells fish tales. We pretty well had it documented. Terry Shealy, who was a well-known outdoor writer, was with me, and he was a witness to it. And we were also videoing at that time with Cabela's, and we have it on film where we caught this fish and released it.
What did that fish weigh?
Well, it weighed 12.5 kilos, and that's where the debuncle come in. I didn't realize the scale was set on kilos instead of pounds, and so we turned it loose.
And if you know off the top of your head, what would that have been in pounds, and what is the world record?
Well, the world record is about 22 pounds, I believe, someplace like that in there, and that fish would have been around 27 or better, But I'm such a true outdoor enthusiast that I turned that fish loose to continue those trophy fish genetics in the Columbia River, so you might have the opportunity to come out and catch its big sister.
Well, I hope I do one of these days, that's for sure. Looking back in the 70s and 80s when almost nobody was walleye fishing, it's really taken hold of now. I mean, it's no secret. Salmon and steelhead populations are not doing as well here in the Northwest, and a lot of those guides are now transitioning to walleye fishing during the winter months where they can catch these big trophy fish. And you've got walleye guides that fish year-round, and on top of that, you've even got walleye tournaments that are taking place on the Columbia River, too.
Well, we actually started the first walleye tournament, myself and a couple other guys up at Boardman, Oregon, and I don't remember the exact date, but we were the first ones to do it. And now, there's a couple of different circuits running out here, and there's probably 10 or 12 tournaments throughout the season, and they're paying some pretty good money. I witnessed the one up at Boardman when they were doing their weigh-in and stuff, and the top team received tournament payout there of $10,000.
What is the limit on walleye now? I know that the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, they're not fans of walleye. They feel that the walleye are impacting salmon and steelhead populations in terms of the young fish they're trying to migrate out to sea. Are there any limits for walleye at this point?
There are none. There's none on catfish, bass, crappie, walleye. The only thing they got limits on is salmon and sturgeon and steelhead.
Let me ask you a question. You've cleaned a lot of walleye over the years. Are they right? Are they really having an impact, in your opinion, just based on the stomach contents you're seeing? Are they really eating tons of salmon and steelhead smolt, or are they being unfairly portrayed as villains here?
Well, less than 2% of their annual diet, according to the federal biologists that did the first studies, are salmonids. So that gives you an idea that they're really not impacting the deal. It's another political ploy. It's a feel-good deal that they're helping the salmon and steelhead runs when, if they are doing any impact, it's so minuscule that it doesn't make any difference as far as the steelhead runs go. The management is what controls that.
I'll be honest, it's a little disturbing to me that, yes, we're trying to help the salmon and steelhead runs, but we literally have what's recognized as a world-class trophy walleye fishery here on the Columbia River. What's been the impact to this fishery since these regulations changed?
Well, like in this area right here, these guys came in the spring when the small walleye are schooling up and staging up for the hens to come in and spawn and to fertilize the eggs. And they went in and each boat was taking anywhere from 50 to 100, 150 fish a day, and they're the small breeding males. And so this particular pool here, from the Dalles Dam to the John Day Dam, has really shown a collapse in the population of walleye. Now, some of the other places that are bigger waters, longer waters, you get above the John Day Dam up to McNary. Now, that's 70-some miles. This pool here is only like 28 miles long. You got to remember that there isn't a lot of habitat, because as you get closer to the dam, it gets really, really deep.
Very interesting. It's just, to me, super interesting to just see the fishery, basically the rise and the potential fall if things don't turn around here. Last question for you. You fish walleye more than just about anybody else on this river. If you were to have two different lures to use to catch walleye, we'll say one in the winter and one during the rest of the year, what would they be and why?
Well, of course, the standard go-to for walleye fishing is what they call a bait harness. Out here, we call it a worm harness because we can't use minnows and leeches and stuff. And it's just a spinner bottom walker setup with some sort of a flasher blade, like a Max Smiley blade or even a standard metal blade. I like the old Colorados and Indianas, different sizes, different colors, And then, of course, one of my favorite things is blade baits, And then one of the other questions we get asked all the time, John, is what colors should I use, okay? So this comes from Gary Roach, who was my mentor on this and who was one of the top walleye fishermen in the nation forever, is in the Hall of Fame and all that. This is a real Roachism word of wisdom. Use light colors on dark days and dark colors on light days. And if that don't work, switch.
Great advice for walleye fishing, great history of walleye fishing in the Columbia River, and of course, Fish Camp too. Stick around, you're going to hear more about Fish Camp and fishing around the Dalles in the minutes ahead. But in the meantime, Ed, thank you so much for putting on another great event. Can't wait to do it again.
Thank you for coming, John, and we'll see you next time around.
Gonna get up before the sun rise above us. Got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
Campers, adventure seekers, hunters, and foodies. No matter the lifestyle, we can all agree on one thing. Great food and great people are worth remembering. At Camp Chef, we don't just make grills. We create each product knowing that a warm meal is always better when it's shared with those we love. Learn more about Camp Chef grills, smokers, and portable cooking equipment at campchef.com. That's campchef.com for a better way to cook outdoors.
Why book at Sportsman's Cove Lodge?
Why is Alaska like no other place on Earth? It hasn't changed in thousands of years.
From the way you get here on a float plane to the way you go out with the guides and the boats, it's just a professional experience.
And I said, this is as good as it gets. I said, if you can't catch fish here, you can't catch fish anywhere.
Your experience with us will leave you speechless.
Book now at alaskasbestlodge.com. You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We are broadcasting from the beautiful Columbia River Gorge, bordering Oregon, Washington. We're continuing to bring you audio from Fish Camp. And I'll tell you what, I've got the best view I have ever had recording an audio segment. I am sitting in a nice RV trailer, and I am looking out over the Columbia River. We are right on the bank, and I've got the blue waters right in front of me. Waters were calm earlier. The winds come up a little bit. There's a breeze. There's some whitecaps. Right across from me are these basalt cliffs, and on top of that, windswept butte, and then beautiful blue skies. It doesn't get much better in this national scenic area known as the Columbia River Gorge. And with me here to tell you more about it and the fishing here is Lisa Farquharson. She is the Executive Director for the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce. Lisa, it's great to be here in your trailer looking at this wonderful view.
I totally agree. John, my hubby, decided he needed more brownie points, so he found me this great spot. I literally, my table's set up for my office for the next few days, and I'm looking right at the river. It doesn't get any better than this. I promise you, it doesn't.
The water is literally not even a stone's throw away. I mean, a 4-year-old could throw a stone and hit the water from where we're at right now. It's just that fantastic, folks. And again, we're broadcasting from the Peach Beach RV Park. Would highly recommend this as a place if you got an RV. Let's talk about the fishing. That's why people come to Fish Camp, and there's a lot of fish to be caught in a lot of different places. But we're going to start off with what just about everyone's been targeting the last few days, and that's the fall Chinook. Now, these Chinook salmon's decent run this year. We're talking about salmon that weigh anywhere from 10 all the way up to 30 pounds. Where are they going after them in the Columbia River Gorge?
So they're going to go after them in 3 different fisheries. I've only actually been able to experience 2 of those. We have the Klickitat, we have the white salmon, and then we have the Deschutes. That's where I spent my day today, was at the Deschutes River, and we were after those Chinook. There is nothing like hearing your line peel out of your pole and down the river, and then you hope that you get it back and get it into your boat. And, you know, it's called fishing. It's not called catching. And so we had 5 people on our boat. 2 of them were able to be successful and put some fish into the boat, but the 3 of us were the cheerleaders. And so, it's not always successful, but it was an amazing day. The sun was out. The waves were flat. And so it was a spectacular, gorgeous day.
Well, there were a lot of boats out there on the Columbia off the mouth of the Deschutes this morning, that's for sure. And some of those boats were very successful. One of them was from right here at Fish Camp. Guide Aaron Peterson went out, got his 5 clients, their 5 salmon by 9 a.m. Hot bite right off the bat at 6. And was so successful, he brought him back and actually took out the cooking crew from Fish Camp. Took them out fishing so they get their salmon too, and was back by 11 a.m. So, it's fishing, folks. You got to be in the right boat at the right place at the right time. But there's always tomorrow to catch more fish. Now, the Chinook fishing has been a lot of fun. But what's coming up next, I think, is going to be even better. And that's a spectacular run of coho salmon, also known as silvers, that is going to be coming up the Columbia River. They're at the mouth now. They're working their way into the gorge. And I assume we're going to be fishing the same areas for coho, but we're doing it a little bit differently, aren't we?
We are, and I actually focus on 2 of those areas. We go to the mouth of the Klickitat and the mouth of the Deschutes, and there my husband and I like to pull plugs and go for them, and then we'll also do trolling on that piece of it. But, you mentioned silver. That with the fall, I will have to say the Klickitat is my most favorite spot because there's nothing like seeing this silver just dolphin all over the river. You've got fall on both sides of you, and the foliage is completely turned when you're going out there, and you got this crisp, quiet morning. Yes, there's other boaters out there, but there is nothing like that. And then being able to bring in that fish. And so that is probably my favorite time of the year is the October fishing. It's just that peaceful calm and fun to bring in those coho.
You're absolutely right. So many people equate this area as like heavily forested, but out here, we've got a lot of different trees. I mean, we certainly have pines and we have ponderosa, but we've got oak savannas in this area, which is really rare in the Pacific Northwest to find these. And you're absolutely right. I mean, when the color changes, it's just absolutely gorgeous out here. That air is crisp and it's just a joy to fish. Now, salmon brings a lot of people to the Columbia River Gorge, but we've got other fish to talk about too. One of those is the walleye, and this is actually, it's still, in my opinion, kind of a secret. Walleye anglers know this, and you get walleye anglers from all over the place that are after literally the walleye of a lifetime because they'll get up to 20 pounds here.
They do. I'm amazed. Well, people walk into our office and they'll tell me they're going walleye fishing, and I find out they're from the Midwest, from the East Coast, from Canada, from other countries, and I'm like, really? How'd you hear about this? And so
I'm sure it was through our radio show, Lisa.
Yes, it had to have been through your radio show. But I will have to agree with them. It's one of the best eating fish. My husband and I love walleye fishing. We're discovering all the little holes. No, I'm not going to tell you. Along our river. I'm going to keep some of those secret. But it is fun. It's not super stressful. It is just that, I don't know, it's just a calm, and the fish are fun to bring in, but they're really good eating.
Oh, they're super good eating. And the great thing about this Columbia River fishery for walleye is that, you've basically got 2 classes to go after. Certain times a year, like right now and during the summer, you're going after those eater-sized fish that are under 20 inches. Other times a year, like in the late winter and early spring, you're targeting those big hens that can weigh, like we said, all the way up to 20 pounds in size. So definitely a reason to come out here. Another reason to come out here in these same waters where you're catching walleye. And again, this is another underappreciated fishery, where people are so focused on salmon. We've got a fantastic smallmouth bass fishery here.
Oh, and those are the funnest. I mean, you can sit there all day long and just throw your line out and catch a bass. And some of those bass are nice size. I caught one yesterday that, probably at least a 6 or 7 pound bass.
Wow.
It was a really nice
That's
bass.
A monster.
It was nice, and we let it go back. That is a fishery that is just fun, and it's all the way through the gorge. You can pick a rocky cliff, which we have plenty of,
Oh, yes.
and you can be able to find bass. It's just a great family fun one. You can be on the banks, you can be on a boat, you can be on a kayak, you can be on a paddleboard. Any one of those, and you can do the bass fishing, and it is just a fun way to bring in that smallmouth bass.
We've been talking a lot about fishing on the Columbia River, and usually you need a boat. There are places you can fish from shore in the Columbia, especially for smallmouth bass, and have a lot of success. But if you are not a boat fisherman and you want to come out here, there's guides that'll be happy to take you out. They'll show you a great time, and you'll really learn about the fisheries when you go out with them and how to do it yourself. Or you can fish some of the tributaries. The Klickitat and the Deschutes River are fantastic rivers. When the steelhead runs are good, this year not so much, but when they're good, both are great rivers to fish. They're both great rivers to fish for those Chinook and those coho this year and just about every other year too. And they both have good, healthy populations of rainbow trout. Now, there's one other fishery we have to talk about here, and this one's another treat that brings people from all sorts of places. And we've had people from Nebraska, we've had people from South Carolina come here to fish camp over the years, and they all want to do one thing. They want to get in a boat, and they want to catch an oversized sturgeon that can get up to 11 feet in size.
And to put that in perspective, when that sturgeon gets to be 10 feet or more, you're looking at 400-pound plus fish. We like to call them river monsters. And it has been probably one of the biggest reasons TV crews come here. People want to come here. They want to be able to catch that fish of a lifetime that is like no other and be able to take a picture with it. And so we have that sturgeon fishery here. It is only where you can actually catch and retain about January is that season. Every once in a while, they'll throw in a day somewhere in the summer or late or early fall where you can have one day where you can go out and catch and retain. But this is a catch and release species. But it is that thrill of a lifetime. It takes all you have to get one of those in.
But if you were looking for a base camp for these adventures and more in the outdoors, I've got to recommend the Dalles. It's smack dab in the middle of all of these fisheries we're talking about. And if you go to the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce website, you're going to find hotels, you're going to find breweries, you're going to find restaurants, you're going to find wineries, you're going to find places to stock up on sporting goods and fishing tackle. Everything you need is right here in the Dalles. And don't forget to visit the Gorge Discovery Center. Really got to take in the natural history and cultural history of this area too. What's the website folks should go to plan their trip?
I would recommend that you hit explorethedalles.com or thedalleschamber.com, but I want to throw in one more place. You need to go see the National Neon Sign Museum. You will be amazed.
That's on my list. ExploreTheDalles.com. That's the website to plan your trip to the scenic Columbia River Gorge and go fishing and more. Thanks as always, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Come explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
Hey, how'd the meeting go with Tommy's school counselor today?
Well, not exactly as planned. I think we need help.
Help? Why do we need help?
Well, I asked her about paying for college, and she said that's not something they do.
Maybe it is time to get some help. Even if Tommy just goes to state college, it's going to cost at least $25,000 a year. We'll have to rate our retirement, pay for Tommy's tuition. There's got to be a better way.
There is a better way. A way where you can pay less for college, or even receive college tuition free, regardless of your income or your students' grades. A way for you to keep your hard-earned income and savings for your future and spend less on college, while virtually eliminating the need for student loans. Get the facts about college admissions and tuition by going to tuitionprograms.org. That's tuitionprograms.org. tuitionprograms.org. Get the facts about college admissions and tuition by going to tuitionprograms.org.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstances, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the darkest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference. That's huntofalifetime.org.
Hunting and fishing are exercises in hope. Before you head into the woods, you hope to tag out on a deer you'll have to field dress. Before you make that first cast, you hope for a big fish to clean and fillet. When your hopes are realized, you'll need a sharp knife. Whether you sharpen that blade on a power sharpener in the shop or a manual sharpener in the field, WorkSharp has the tool for you. Look for WorkSharp products in sporting goods stores near you or online at WorkSharpTools.com.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and we're continuing to broadcast from the beautiful Columbia River Gorge at Fish Camp, not too far from the Dalles, Oregon. And one of the sponsors that's here at Fish Camp, been here just about every year that I've been, and that's going on almost 20 years now, is WorkSharp Tools. Now, WorkSharp, they're based in Ashland, Oregon, actually a lot closer to the border of California and Oregon than where we're at today, the border of Washington and Oregon. But their knife and tool sharpeners are sold all over the United States. And with us here to tell you a little bit about some essential items you need as an angler or at hunting camp is Josh Warren. He handles marketing for him. Great to see you.
It's great to be here back at Fish Camp, and thanks for having me on, John.
So you just got back from salmon fishing. You were out with guide Aaron Peterson. How did it go?
It went pretty well. In the morning, we had a couple of hot bites right at first light at 6:15 or so, and it quieted down after that. We maybe made a bunch of passes for an hour and a half with almost nothing, and picked up, I think another pod came in, and we picked up a few more bites, put another 2 fish in the boat, and then quiet for an hour or so, and luckily the wind died down by that point, maybe only 5 miles an hour, and so we were able to hold position, the gear's presenting in the water a lot better, and we hooked a couple more fish, and 1 coho and 5 kings, so we got all of our fish plus a bonus.
That is a very fine morning of fishing. So what I want to talk about today is essentials that you should have on your boat. Now, you have to sharpen things, whether it be a fillet knife or whether it be a hook. You know, as an angler, you've got to keep certain things sharp. So if you're going to have something on your boat, whether you're a guide like Aaron Peterson or whether you're somebody like me who just likes to fish on the river, what is one thing you'd recommend that will handle both tasks?
I definitely recommend using something you're comfortable with to sharpen. And so we've got a couple of options for you on there. One of those that's very easy to use, we call the Pivot Pro knife sharpener. It's a similar form factor to other sharpeners you've seen where it has 2 V slots, and you can pull your knife through. One's carbide for more dull knives and refining the edge, and then a ceramic for honing and keeping a sharp knife sharp. It's got a big handle. It's a big tool that also has a diamond plate on one portion of it, so you could do some repair to a knife with a chip or sharpen up some hooks on that. Easy to hold on to, big plastic handle, and you could tie a rope to it so it doesn't fall in the water and float away.
Well, I absolutely love this. The handle in particular is just perfect, especially for being on a boat. And like you said, you can tie it on, or if you've got a console or you've got a glove box, it's perfect to throw in there, but definitely an essential tool. Now, it is September, so we've got to talk hunting season. A lot of folks are thinking deer camp. A lot of folks are thinking elk camp. There's some people that are thinking upland bird and duck camps too. Let's talk about an essential tool that every hunter wants to have to keep those knives and tools sharp at hunt camp.
Especially in the big game world, you have to have a sharpener, either at hunt camp or in your kill kit if you're bringing that with you into the field. We have a couple of sharpeners that are lightweight, but my favorite is the guided field sharpener. It's everything you need to sharpen a knife out in the field. Coarse diamond and fine diamond with angle guides. So the same angle you use to sharpen at home, you can do that now in the field. And then a fine ceramic and even a leather strop. And with all of that, you can adjust how you sharpen to the condition of your knife. If your knife just needs a touch-up, you've been working with a lot of hair, you can just hit the leather strop and bring it back to a razor sharp edge. If you hit a bone or if you drop your knife in the dirt, maybe you have to take it back to that fine diamond and give it a quick touch-up.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the guided field sharpener. This is actually my favorite product from WorkSharp. I actually have one in my studio downstairs. So when I'm fiddling around with things, I always find myself like sharpening pocket knives or sharpening various things, whether they be scissors or otherwise down in the studio. But I've also got one that I take with me when I go to hunt camp too. And you're right. It's just perfect for so many different tasks out there. Now, some of these hunt camps are a bit more deluxe and have got generators. So is there a powered option we should talk about?
If you're running a generator at camp and you got a camp with a couple of deer hanging, hopefully it's a good season, I recommend our Mark II knife and tool sharpener. You may be familiar with the original knife and tool sharpener. It's the triangle-shaped belt that's power-driven. Excellent, fast tool for sharpening knives. The Mark II came out last year, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it at Fish Camp with everything going on. And this year, I'm excited to talk about it, and it's been in the market for a little while. An exciting tool. We made some key improvements to the Mark I. It now has leather-lined angle guides for a soft touch on your knife, and we integrated the guides to one guide system that has a toggle switch between 20 and 25 degrees for the difference between kitchen knives or outdoor knives. So if you're like me, that's fewer parts to keep track of, fewer things to bring to hunt camp, plug and play, ready to go, sharpen every knife very quickly.
All right, so whether it's the Mark II, if you got a generator, or if you don't have any electricity, the guided field sharpener, definite essentials for hunt camp. And if you're on the boat, definitely have the Pivot Pro knife and tool sharpener. It's going to help keep those hooks sharp, those knives sharp that you need to clean those fish. And if you want to check out the entire product line, because there's a whole lot more that WorkSharp has, go to their website, worksharptools.com. That's worksharptools.com. And I've got to ask, you are literally all over the place in North America. Let's go through some of the places where your products are found.
You can find us at some of the big box stores, the Cabela's, Bass Pro, Sportsman's Warehouse. We have some positions in Dick's Sporting Goods, Big Five, and then so many other just bait and tackle shops, your local corner store for supplies. Find us there. Find us online at our website, worksharptools.com. We're available where most knife sharpeners are sold.
Like we always say, folks, there's nothing worse than a dull blade or a dull hook to ruin the perfect fishing or hunting trip. So get what you need from WorkSharp. The website again, worksharptools.com. And I hope you catch some more salmon in the morning, Josh.
Thanks. I hope so too, John. Glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
A quick news item for you. If you're a Saturday listener, it is Public Lands Day across America, and entry to all of our national parks is absolutely free. That goes for quite a few of our public lands where you normally have to pay a fee for a recreation or parking pass. If it's a federal public land, it's free for you to enter today. So get out there if you're looking for an excuse and enjoy the public lands that all of us own as Americans. As we wrap things up, I'd like to thank not only Ed Eyman, but also his entire group of volunteers who put together another fun fish camp for us to enjoy at the wonderful Peach Beach RV Park this September. I'd also like to thank Josh Warren with WorkSharp for coming on board today to talk about those essential sharpeners you'll want to have in your boat as an angler or your hunting camp this fall, and Lisa Farquharson for her support and sponsorship of our show too. If you are looking for guides to fish with, there are several who fish this area that were at Fish Camp. This includes Austin Mosier, who you heard from, also Aaron Peterson, Mark Bush, Kevin Whitty, Walleye, Willie Ross, and Tom Browning. They're all excellent guides, and they were all kind enough to give up time on the water to let media schmucks like me go fishing. Walleye tournament anglers Ted Beach and Jaime Rodriguez were also kind enough to lend their talents to the guests at Fish Camp too, and it was appreciated. Finally, if you're looking for a guide to fish with, a place to stay, maybe some great breweries, wineries, or restaurants, or sporting goods stores in the area, start your search at explorethedalles.com. You'll find everything you need to start planning your visit to the wonderful Columbia Gorge to fish and visit for other reasons too. That website again, explorethedalles.com. If you didn't catch our entire show, we'll have it uploaded as a podcast on your favorite platform in a few days, and we've got all of our shows from the last few years archived for your listening pleasure too. Just look for America Outdoors Radio or America Outdoors Radio Podcast and follow or subscribe to it wherever you listen to podcasts. Last but not least, don't forget to check out our website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com at least once a week to see what's coming up for the next show, and also to see who the wonderful sponsors are who support our show. Sponsors, I hope you'll patronize too. That website again, AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. And don't forget our Facebook page at America Outdoors Radio. Like and follow that because I want you to have a chance to win. It's time to go, but as always, I do hope you are both blessed and healthy in the week ahead, and that you'll be able to get outside and enjoy some fishing, hunting, hiking, or wildlife watching in the days ahead too. It is a beautiful time of year to be outdoors. I love September and October, probably my favorite time of year. I bet it's one of yours too. And with that in mind, do remember this. It is your country and you're outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it.
Explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at ExploreTheDalles.com.